Picture this. You've just stepped off a 10-hour flight. You're exhausted, jet-lagged, and honestly, you just want to get through passport control, grab your bag, and breathe some fresh air. You're standing in that long, winding customs line, shuffling forward inch by inch, clutching your passport. You finally get to the little booth, hand over your documents, and give the Customs and Border Protection officer a polite nod. They scan your passport, ask the usual questions about where you've been and what you're bringing back. You answer truthfully because, hey, you've got nothing to hide. Then the tone shifts. The officer looks up, makes direct eye contact, and says, "Unlock your phone and hand it to me." Your stomach drops. Suddenly, that exhaustion is replaced by pure adrenaline and a cold sweat. You hesitate. Why do they want my phone? My whole life is sitting on that device, my private S to my partner, embarrassing photos from 5 years ago, my banking apps, my entire search history. The officer isn't asking, they're demanding. And in that moment, you realize you have zero leverage. This isn't a hypothetical scenario designed to scare you. This happens every single day at US airports and border crossings. Before we dive into exactly how to protect yourself and the one specific type of app that is an absolute red flag for agents right now, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button below. We talk about real-world privacy survival skills on this channel, and you're not going to want to miss what's coming up next. The reality of crossing the US border is something most people don't think about until it's too late. We walk around every day inside the country assuming we have a certain level of privacy guaranteed by the Constitution. You know, the Fourth Amendment, the one that protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures. Generally, if a cop on the street wants to dig through your pockets or unlock your phone, they need a warrant based on probable cause. They need a judge to sign off on it. You have the right to say no. But here's the kicker that catches so many travelers off guard. The border is different. There is something called the border search exception. When you are entering the United States, and this applies whether you are a foreign tourist, a green card holder, or even a full-fledged U.S. citizen, your constitutional rights are significantly dialed back. The government's interest in protecting national security and controlling what enters the country outweighs your individual right to privacy in that specific zone. And that zone isn't just the physical line on a map, it includes international airports like JFK, LAX, or O'Hare. So, what does this actually mean for you standing there at the kiosk? It means that CBP officers have broad authority to search almost anything you bring with you without a warrant and without even suspecting you of a crime. For decades, that meant they could dig through your suitcase, check the lining of your coat, and flip through a physical notebook you were carrying. But technology has evolved faster than the laws, and now, that suitcase is your smartphone. Think about the difference. A physical suitcase holds clothes and maybe some papers. Your digital suitcase, your phone, holds terabytes of data that map out your entire existence. It knows who you talk to, where you've been, what you spend money on, your political views, your health records, and your deepest secrets. When an agent takes your unlocked phone into that back room, they aren't just looking for photos of illegal goods. They have tools that can suck data out of that device faster than you can imagine, running it against massive government databases to see if anything pops up. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, I'm not a terrorist and I'm not smuggling drugs, so I have nothing to worry about. Let them look. That is a dangerous mindset in the digital age. You don't need to be a criminal to have things on your phone that could cause you massive headaches at the border. Con matters, and things on your phone often lack con. A joke message sent to a buddy 3 years ago about blowing something up in a video game could be read very differently by a federal agent looking for threats. A perfectly legal transaction on a crypto app might raise red flags about money laundering if the agent doesn't understand it. While the statistics show that CBP only searches a fraction of the millions of people crossing the border annually, the number of device searches has grown significantly over the last decade. And if you are one of the thousands selected for that random screening, statistics don't matter. The violation feels incredibly personal. You could be detained for hours, miss your connecting flight, have your device confiscated for weeks or months for forensic analysis, and in some cases for non-citizens, be denied entry entirely based on what they find or what they think they find. If this is starting to sound like a dystopian nightmare, go ahead and smash that like button so this video gets out to more people who need this warning. It's crucial to understand that the playing field is not level at customs. You need to prepare your digital baggage just as carefully as you pack your physical luggage. The biggest mistake travelers make is handing over a phone that is wide open and full of every app they've ever downloaded. You need to think of your phone as a house. When you invite a stranger in, you might let them into the living room, but you probably keep your bedroom door closed and your office safe locked. When you cross the border with a fully loaded phone, you are essentially opening every door, drawer, and safe in your digital house and inviting the government to rummage through it. We need to talk about digital hygiene before travel. This goes beyond just clearing your browser history. It's about understanding what data you are carrying and how that data could be misinterpreted. The government isn't just looking for illegal content, they are looking for connections, patterns, and associations. They're trying to figure out who you are and whether you pose a risk. And certain apps on your phone act like giant neon signs saying, "Look at me, I might be involved in something sketchy." In 2025, Customs and Border Protection has become increasingly sophisticated, using digital red flags to decide who gets a pass and who gets a 4-hour interrogation. First, and perhaps most surprisingly, are your financial and work-related apps. If you are entering the US on a B1 or B2 tourist visa, having apps like LinkedIn, Upwork, Fiverr, or even Indeed active on your phone can be a massive liability.
Why?
Because the biggest concern for a border agent, besides national security, is immigrant intent or illegal employment. If they see you have active job alerts for US-based positions or a ready-to-work status on a freelance app, they can conclude you aren't just here to see the Grand Canyon, you're here to take a job. Even worse, if you're a heavy user of cryptocurrency apps like Coinbase, Binance, or specialized crypto wallets, you're now under a microscope. In 2025, there is a massive crackdown on digital money laundering. If an agent sees a wallet with a high balance and you can't immediately explain the source of those funds, they might suspect you of bulk cash smuggling in a digital form. Second, we have to talk about encrypted messaging apps. I'm talking about Signal, Telegram, and even WhatsApp. Now, having these apps isn't a crime, but it's what's inside them that causes the trouble. The issue with these platforms is that you don't always control the content. You might be a perfectly law-abiding person, but if you're in a Telegram group with 500 other people and someone who you don't even know posts something remotely radical, political, or illegal, and an agent sees that while scrolling through your recent chats, you are now guilty by association. They don't have time to read the whole history, they see the last message, and suddenly you're in the back room explaining why you're in a suspicious group. Third, social media and dating apps have become a primary tool for behavioral screening. As of 2025, new executive orders have made providing social media handles for the last 5 years a mandatory part of many entry processes, including USDA applications. But the physical search goes deeper. Agents look at apps like Tinder or Bumble to see if you're hunting for a spouse to get a green card. They look at X or TikTok to see if you've expressed anti-American sentiment or political dissent that they deem a risk to public safety. It might feel like a violation of your free speech, and it is, but at the border, that speech can be used to deny you entry. Before I tell you about the one specific type of app that is the biggest trap of all, I want to remind you to share this video with anyone you know who has international travel coming up. Most people have no idea that their LinkedIn profile or a stray Tinder message could get them deported. Sharing this could literally save someone's vacation or their career. Now, let us talk about that one specific type of app, VPNs. You probably have one. We've all been told for years that a VPN is the gold standard for privacy. It hides your IP address, encrypts your traffic, and makes you invisible to hackers. But at a US border crossing, a VPN is like wearing a ski mask into a bank. To you, it's a security tool. To a CBP agent, it looks like a way to hide your digital tracks. Specifically, free or ad-supported VPNs are a huge red flag. Agents know that these are often used to bypass regional restrictions or mask location-based activity. If they see a VPN active, their first question is, "What are you trying to hide from the US government?" It creates a baseline of suspicion. They might wonder if you're trying to access dark web marketplaces or hide communication with bad actors. In their eyes, if you have nothing to hide, why do you need to tunnel your data through a server in the Seychelles? It's a paradox. The very tool you use to stay safe makes you a target. And it's not just the apps themselves, it's the ghost data they leave behind. Even if you delete an app 5 minutes before you get in line, a sophisticated forensic search, what CBP calls an advanced search, can sometimes see remnants of that app or see that a large amount of data was recently wiped. This looks incredibly evasive. Now that we've covered the why and the what, let us talk about the how. How do you actually protect your privacy without looking like you're trying to hide an international conspiracy? If you've found this breakdown helpful so far, please make sure to share this video with your travel group or anyone you know who has a flight coming up. Most people walking into that customs hall have no idea they are entering a constitution-light zone, and your share could save them from a massive legal headache. When it comes to securing your data, you have to follow what I call the border-ready protocol. This isn't about being a bad actor. It's about recognizing that in 2025, your phone is essentially a digital autobiography that you shouldn't be forced to publish for a stranger. First, the most effective strategy, and the one the pros use, is the travel phone strategy. If you can afford it, don't bring your daily driver phone with you across the border. Instead, grab a cheaper, older smartphone or a dedicated travel device. Log into your essential travel apps like your airline, maps, and maybe a basic messaging app, but keep your primary life, your banking, your work emails, your sensitive photos back home on your main device. If a CBP agent asks for a travel phone, you hand it over. There's nothing to see because there's nothing on it. You aren't hiding anything, you're simply not carrying your entire life in your pocket. Second, if you have to bring your main phone, you need to use the cloud-first approach. Before you even leave for the airport, back up your entire phone to a secure cloud service like iCloud, Google Drive, or a private server. Once that backup is verified, you can selectively delete the high-risk apps we talked about earlier, your LinkedIn if you're on a tourist visa, your crypto wallets, and those massive Telegram groups. The key here is selective deletion. Don't just factory reset your phone an hour before you land. A completely blank, brand-new phone is actually a red flag. To an agent, a phone with 0 messages and 0 photos looks like it was sanitized, which gives them the reasonable suspicion they need to move from a basic manual search to an advanced forensic search. You want your phone to look normal, just not too deep. Third, and this is a big one for iPhone and Android users alike, disable biometrics. Before you even step off the plane, you need to go into your settings and turn off Face ID and Touch ID. You want your phone to require a passcode, a long alphanumeric one, not just a simple 4-digit PIN. Legally and practically, it is much easier for an agent to point your phone at your face or hold your thumb to a sensor than it is to compel you to reveal a password stored in your brain. In many legal jurisdictions, biometrics are considered physical evidence, while a passcode is considered testimony, which has stronger protections. By turning off biometrics, you buy yourself time and create a clear legal boundary. While we're on the subject of passwords, let us talk about what actually happens if they ask for it. This is where your legal status makes a massive difference. If you are a US citizen, you cannot be denied entry into your own country. Period. You have a right to be here. If you refuse to provide your passcode, the agent might get frustrated, they might detain you for a few hours, and they will almost certainly seize your device. They can keep it for weeks or even months to try and crack it using forensic tools like Celebrite. But they must let you in. However, if you are a visa holder, a green card holder, or traveling on an USDA, the power dynamic is completely flipped. For non-citizens, entry into the US is a privilege, not a right. If you refuse to unlock your phone, the CBP officer has the broad discretion to deem you uncooperative and deny you entry right then and there. They can cancel your visa and put you on the next flight home. It's a brutal, no-win situation. This is why the travel phone and cloud strategies are so important for international visitors. It prevents the confrontation from ever happening. Before we get to the final, most important tip, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been pulled into secondary screening at the border? What was that experience like? Your stories help the rest of the community understand what's really happening on the ground. Fourth, you need to power down. Don't just lock your screen, turn your phone completely off before you hit the customs line. When a modern smartphone is powered off, it enters what's called a before first unlock state. In this state, the encryption is much stronger and the data is much harder for automated forensic tools to suck out. It also gives you a natural reason to be fiddling with your phone. You're just turning it on as you get to the front of the line. Fifth, let us talk about your social media footprint. As of 2025, the US government is very open about the fact that they screen social media. If your Instagram or X account is public, they don't even need your phone to look at it. They've probably already looked at it before you landed. But if they're scrolling through your phone, they are looking for intent. If you've been posting about how much you hate your job and want to move to Florida, but you're entering on a tourist visa, you've just given them all the evidence they need to deport you for immigrant intent. Clean up your public profiles weeks before you travel. Finally, the most important thing you can bring to the border isn't a clean phone, it's a calm, polite demeanor. CBP agents are trained to look for stress indicators. If you're sweating, stuttering, and acting shifty because you're worried about a VPN app on your phone, you're inviting a search. Treat the interaction like a boring business meeting. Answer the questions truthfully but concisely. Don't volunteer information. If they ask for your phone, you can say, "I prefer not to provide my password for privacy reasons, but be prepared for the consequences we discussed." For most people, the goal is to get home as fast as possible, and sometimes that means making a tactical decision about how much privacy you're willing to trade for speed. The digital border is constantly shifting, and the rules in 2025 are stricter than they've ever been. But by being intentional about what you pack in your digital luggage, you can navigate customs with confidence. You don't have to choose between your privacy and your travel plans, you just have to be smarter than the algorithms. If you want to stay ahead of these kinds of privacy risks, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're living in a world where data is the new currency, and I'm here to help you keep as much of it as possible. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video.